Hello, my name is Benjamin Eyriey, and this is my pitch for my proposed documentary. So far, we only have a working title, and that working title is The L.A. Taylor Story. First of all, before I properly introduce you to Lauren Taylor, whose ring name is L.A. Taylor, I want to talk about how I got to this idea. The idea originally came from a project that I had proposed last year, where I would be following social media influencer Marcus Mitchell around and detailing his turbulent life. He was a fascinating character, and I wanted to produce a documentary on a human subject, something that many people can relate to. I was enthusiastic about this, and so was Marcus, although unfortunately he stood me up multiple times during production meetings, and on multiple occasions didn't even show up. I took action, and I decided not to follow through with the idea. The reasons for this was simple. I've grown as a filmmaker, I've grown as a student, and I can see the warning signs from far away. What if we came to a shoot day and he didn't show up? That would leave us in a very difficult predicament, and I realised early on that I couldn't even risk this. Talking about pitfalls, it is also worth noting that the idea came from a chat that I had with Paul Mulroney last year. This chat stayed with me, as Paul pulled me aside and told me that I wouldn't get anywhere in the third year if I didn't branch out and meet new people, if I didn't work within a crew. I was used to working independently, and as a filmmaker, this held me back. So I put it upon myself to get out of my comfort zone, to prove myself as a filmmaker, and to put everything that I've been taught and that I've learnt into good practice. So I built new meaningful relationships, and I will talk about this in a bit more detail later on, but I will introduce to you my crew. I am, of course, the director. Mel Blake is the producer. Alfie Churchill is on sound, and Sean Loud is on cinematography. We have a second-year assistant cinematographer who studies television in Kieran Kalshavim, and Jackson Cairns is the editor. I will discuss our relationships in further detail later on in this pitch. Meet Lauren Taylor, a professional wrestler from Cornwall, England. In the next couple of slides, I'm going to be introducing you to her journey. This will be done by showing you the interviews that I've had with her, the conversations that I've had with her, because I feel it is best if she explained her story in her own words. I am of course going to be narrating over this as well. Wrestling has saved Lauren Taylor, from a very dark place in her life. This documentary will follow that story. This isn't only a documentary about professional wrestling, but it is also a story about a human being who has been on a journey, a human being who has improved herself, and a human being who is pursuing her dreams and is doing anything possible to get to where she wants to be. The story starts in 2018. Overweight and depressed, Lauren Taylor was at a crossroads in her life. She wasn't sure what to do with herself. A wrestling school had opened in her town of Paul's Eve, and Lauren was dared by her friends to take part. Despite being told by her trainer that she would never make it, Lauren proved all the doubters wrong.
I got into training with a friend who goes, "Oh, there's a taster day down the road to learn some pro wrestling. That'd be a laugh, wouldn't it?" I'm like, yeah, sick. Let's go down there. I can tell my grandkids that I tried that once. Unfortunately for both of us, I kept going back and back and back and back. I was overweight, heavily asthmatic. I threw up every single week, sometimes twice.
This isn't only a story about professional wrestling, but also a journey about mental health. The sacrifices Lauren made to her personal life to become a professional wrestler was huge. This was a massive hurdle for her to overcome. She had life-changing decisions to make for her career.
this sport takes such a heavy toll on your body, I personally didn't feel that it was worth doing just a little for the amount you expect from yourself for it. And so for me, I thought, well, if I'm going to do this and if I'm going to take this, I'd just as well do as much as I can and try and get as high as I can. That meant changing jobs, going back into education to get a different career that would allow me to relocate and move around to different cities or countries if I need to. It's also getting a place for when I can no longer wrestle. Again, being in education. And so that's why it's a huge commitment to me. Like every single day, at least a few hours, if not several, every single day, there's something dedicated and focused towards wrestling.
In professional wrestling, wrestlers play characters. They play fictionalized versions of themselves. Lauren saw this as an opportunity to live a different life, to be a person distinctively different than the person she is outside of the ring. It was an outlet for her to live a life without responsibilities, to live a life without chains.
LA Taylor is the version of me that is never pressured into making a decision that they don't make. There's the person that always completely selfishly always answers things in the way that they want to, in the way that benefits them. And that's essentially what she is. She's me without the hang-ups, without the problems, without the stress of whatever's happening outside of wrestling. She doesn't have problems with work. She doesn't have problems with trying to get to the gym or trying to wake up early for a shift or make sure you get the pins out. She's just there.
We've explored the personal side of Lauren's story, the sacrifices, as well as who she is in the ring. Lauren is the only female pro wrestler from Cornwall, and ultimately, this came with a lack of opportunities in the region. But it's also worth noting that her Cornish heritage is a massive part of her in-ring identity.
So for me, the Cornish and being Cornish means having strong convictions, standing by them, standing up for what is right, and even if that makes you the underdog, because we are just massive underdogs, right? It's written throughout our history.
Now that I've introduced you to L.A. Taylor, it is worth talking about my influences. This will help give you a clearer vision of my idea. In the next 3 slides, I will be discussing this. I'll be discussing how I've been inspired by not only film, but also television and books. This has helped shape my thought process behind the documentary. I extensively studied various documentaries centered on professional wrestling, including Behind the Curtains, which offered a glimpse into the lives of these larger-than-life characters within the industry. Wrestlers from Netflix was inspired by that documentary. This depicts a journey of aspiring wrestlers navigating the challenges of both training school and life's hurdles. Moreover, Dark Side of the Ring provides an in-depth exploration on the history of professional wrestling, the dark history of professional wrestling. Though this documentary won't necessarily be focusing on that side of professional wrestling, my documentary would draw inspiration from multiple elements of Dark Side of the Ring. Notably, its emphasis on portraying professional wrestlers as multifaceted individuals with real human experiences. The documentary on professional wrestler QT Marshall also presents a captivating character profile of a professional wrestler who has grappled with depression. Emphasizing the significance of sharing this narrative on screen, this documentary, the one that I'll be making, will be delving into mental health as a crucial aspect of its overarching theme. In the next slide, we will be looking at this in a bit more detail. Many documentaries also explore mental health within sports and entertainment, such as The Edge of Everything, which offers valuable elements that will be incorporated into this project. Drawing inspiration from the documentary on snooker star Ronnie O'Sullivan, it skillfully presents the intricate facets of his often tumultuous life through a linear narrative of his career. In a similar manner, Lewis Capaldi's documentary, How I'm Feeling Now, unveils dimensions of the artist's life that is rarely seen by the audience, akin to the approach taken by The Weight of Gold. This latter documentary sheds light on the concealed mental health struggles faced by athletes, emphasizing the profound challenges they confront as they navigate the conclusion of their careers. I also felt it was important to look at multiple other sources as well. I didn't just look at television and films, I also looked at literary influences. The reason behind this was because I wanted to get as big a glimpse into the careers of these athletes as possible. I wanted to get as much detail as possible into what they're like outside the ring and as to how they portray themselves. Such an example is Bret the Hitman Hart's autobiography. In 2002, not much was known about him as a person. In fact, mental health wasn't necessarily spoken about back then, nor was it in professional wrestling. It was very much a dark subject, if you will. Bret Hart's autobiography gave the fans a fascinating glimpse of the man he is outside of the ring, as does Wrestling with My Mind by Roy Beavis. Probably one of the biggest inspirations for me, though, was Behind the Mask by Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury has always been a very captivating individual, a very controversial individual, and whereas boxing is very different than wrestling, certain things there are similarities as well. There's the showmanship as well, and that particular aspect was something that I wanted to focus on, as Tyson Fury inside of the ring is very much a showman, but not many people realise that he's a completely different person outside of the ring. Away from the glamour and the fighting and the smack talk, he's a very complicated person, a person of real human struggles and depression as well. These mood boards will help illustrate how I visualize the documentary. It will help give you a greater grasp of what I'm hoping to present on screen. This particular segment featuring Polzeath serves as a deliberate contrast to the film's overall tone. Lauren is from Polzeath, abstaining from the loud music synonymous with professional wrestling. This particular sequence, which will open up the film, will embrace the quiet authenticity, offering viewers a genuine down-to-earth glimpse into her life. A veritable peek behind the curtain, if you will. This is intentional, as I hope to showcase her as a human being outside of the ring, and not the character L.A. Taylor. This will contribute to a more profound understanding of Lauren as a person, underscoring that this documentary extends beyond pro wrestling. It meticulously profiles a complex individual. The chosen mood board here not only reflects the desired cinematography, but also emphasizes the use of behind-the-shoulder shots to convey introspection, as well as shots of her on the beach or within the community that is Polzeath, which is very tight-knit. The outdoor setting in Polzeath enhances the solitude of the scene, creating a stark juxtaposition to the glittering lights and glamour of the wrestling ring. This will be the audience's peek into Lauren Taylor as a human being. It will open up the film. Again, this isn't only a professional wrestling documentary, but a character profile. Lauren spends a great deal of her time in the ring. When she's not in Polzeath, she's training in Plymouth. There's a type of solitude I would like to portray within this scene, though you will still hear the clattering of the ring, the trainer shouting at her in the background, the grunts of her working out, and the often sweat-splattered ring canvas. I would still like the audience to see what Lauren is like inside the ring, the different person she becomes. It is a very interesting juxtaposition to the person she is away from the ring. It gives you a glimpse of the mask she puts over herself, of the different person, as she was explaining to us earlier, she becomes. This will also give me an opportunity to take shots of her training, shots of her working out. I want the lighting to be natural. I want it to be raw. Wrestling training schools are often very cold places, and this is an element I would love to portray on the screen. As I just mentioned, I would also love to take shots of this sweat splattered canvas, of the old broken down wrestling rings. These are not glamorous places. Lauren has literally dedicated her life to training at these places. Now, you've been on a journey on Lauren Taylor as a person, of her struggles outside of the wrestling ring, of her sacrifices, even of her training in a wrestling school in Plymouth. Now take a look at the mood board. Now close your eyes. Go on, close your eyes. Transport yourself to the heart of a wrestling crowd. Feel the tribal energy pulsating through the air. The boos directed at the antagonist, the cheers echoing for the beloved heroes. The resonance of loud music fills the arena as wrestlers make their grand entrances, setting the stage for the impending adrenaline rush as they step into the ring, ready to put their bodies on the line. Now, maintain that vivid imagery as you transition into watching the documentary. The scene shifts to Lauren Taylor. L.A. Taylor, backstage. Here she emerges as a different person, distinct from the person outside the ring or the one training in the cold confines of a wrestling school in Plymouth. There's a palpable focus and a surge of adrenaline coursing through her veins. The camera guides you on this immersive journey, capturing every step as she moves from the dressing room to the entrance ramp, where the atmosphere suddenly envelops you with its intensity. Hopefully I've taken you on a small journey there. Though to do that on the screen, I will have to use a lot of archival footage, as it's dangerous to film ringside at a wrestling event. I can film the wrestling crowd though. Things from the stand as well, even the atmosphere of a wrestling arena. This is something that I'm hoping to portray on screen and will help portray the juxtaposition of what her actual personal life is and the character she portrays in the wrestling ring. Away from the imagery, I'm now going to discuss the meetings I've had with my crew. A consecutive effort was made to get to know my crew on a personal basis, especially since I've never worked within a crew before. This included extracurricular activities, such as going out for meals in the evening, going to the beach with one another, even going out for coffees at lunchtime. This allowed for us to build chemistry with one another and to get to know each other on a more personal basis. For me, this is absolutely vital, as good chemistry and a good relationship with your crew is absolutely vital for a successful shoot. It is also worth noting that my producer has been incredibly helpful in regards to organising me. As somebody with dyspraxia and autism, there are certain things that I do struggle with, such as clear communication, talking, and as I just said, organising. Mel has filled in a lot of the holes in regards to the things that I can't do, and this has included clear communication as well. We discuss the project on a daily basis. We organise specific dates for our crew to meet, specific dates for meetings as well. This is incredibly important for me as well, as this isn't only a learning curve for me as a filmmaker, but also an opportunity for me to learn from other people, from fellow like-minded students who want to make a decent film. It is also worth noting that there will be production challenges. During our meetings, we do talk about these challenges and how we're going to deal with them. As I previously said, organisation and communication within the crew is absolutely crucial. We'll talk about funding in a bit more detail later, as there will be restraints in regards to that as well, but transport is a massive issue for this as well. We'll of course need to put transport into our risk assessments as well, as we'll be transporting equipment from Falmouth all the way to Plymouth and Polzeath. Our cinematographer Kieran has offered to drive us all the way to Plymouth and Polzeath. This will of course mean that we'll have to put into careful consideration the amount of equipment that we can bring, and of course booking them out well in advance, as equipment availability this year will be competitive. There are plenty of other films also being recorded this year. We'll also need to put into consideration schedule conflicts. Kieran's in his second year, he studies television. There'll be times when he can't join us due to the fact that he will be in lessons. Obviously though, we'll have to organise our schedule around this to facilitate this. And of course Lauren Taylor's schedule as well, as she'll be incredibly busy as well. My cinematographer Sean has devised this kit list for the film. He has proposed that we bring a Sony FX6 kit bundle with us, which he owns, a Canon Cine Prime kit as well as a bright tangerine matte box. These will also include various monitors, as well as a camera calibration target and a clapperboard. An F&V LED light kit and standard light stand will also be used as well. Test shoots are absolutely vital. As a filmmaker who's new to working in a group, it is absolutely vital to have a space for us to get comfortable with each other in the working environment, on the film set environment. So for me, these test shoots were imperative, as it gave us a meticulous chance to work with each other and to get on the same page both creatively and visually. I also personally believe that mistakes are healthy. I want my crew to make mistakes during these test shoots. They will give us an opportunity to learn and to know what not to do when it comes down to the day of our shoot, as we don't want to be making them whilst shooting. A lot of these test shoots included making mini documentaries. These mini documentaries were in a very similar vein to the ones that I'll be making this year, to the one that I'm making on LA Taylor. It is important to know how we're going to be conducting ourselves on the day, how we're going to be organising ourselves on the day as well. Responsibility has to be taken by the entire crew in regards to their roles on that day, and we all have to be thoroughly organised and on the ball when it comes to the day of our shoot. While I will not extensively delve into the target audience, it is essential to highlight that careful consideration has been given to their characteristics. As previously emphasised, I do not want to pigeonhole my audience when it comes down to this documentary, aiming for broad appeal across diverse demographics, given the contemporary significance of mental health as a subject. Concerning the demographics, the identified target audience fall within the D to B range on the NRS social scale, encompassing individuals from working class to middle class backgrounds. The VALS framework plays a pivotal role for discerning the psychographics of our target audience as well. The identified segments include both believers who utilize TV as a means of escapism and achievers characterized by their hard-working and goal-oriented nature. This strategic alignment ensures resonance with a varied and engaged viewership. We have also put into consideration the fact that we will be putting the film into multiple film festivals. First off, we need to be very aware that we haven't got a great deal of financial resources. So we'll of course be limited to the film festivals that we can apply for. The ones I have chosen in green are the ones that I'll definitely be applying for. The ones highlighted in yellow are the ones that I'm unsure about applying for and that aren't as urgent as the others. The Cornwall Film Festival and the Plymouth Film Festival both require a £10 entry fee, which is feasible for us. The St Ives September Festival is free for students. The Cheap Cuts Short Documentary Film Festival is free, though that was as of 2023. I'm not too sure whether it's still free in 2024. I put into consideration the financial aspects as I just mentioned. The International Sport Film Festival, the ISFF, is £100 for people to enter, which, whereas not as feasible as the other ones, could become a potential destination should we garner the correct amount of funding. The Open City Documentary Festival also requires a £100 entry fee, though, as previously mentioned, due to our lack of resources, these aren't as realistic as the options highlighted in green. My producer Mel has done a budget breakdown. I'm not going to spend too much on this, as my role as director mostly encompasses discussing the film and my plans and my ambitions for it as well. I'll quickly go through it though. Lauren Taylor will approximately be paid £50 a day when we film with her. The dojo and Polzeath will be free, with the only things we'll have to pay for are petrol money to go in the car, which is approximated to be £13, and train travel to Plymouth, which will be £61 should we need it. We've put into consideration catering as well, which will cost £138 for all the shoot days, as well as our crowdfunder as well. Please take time to look at the budget breakdown, and if there are any things that I should consider at the end of it, please do let me know. Ultimately, it is absolutely vital to learn how to interact and communicate with sponsors. This has been a massive learning curve for us on the film, and is actually the first time we've had to deal with them. We've made a consecutive effort to learn the intricacies of working out sponsors and dealing with them as well, which has including a great deal of education for ourselves as well. We did find a sponsor, Tonic Business Publishing, a publication company that runs Business Cornwall and Cornwall Living. They have given us a budget or a sponsor of £200, which will go towards the film. We also learned how to sell them on the idea, and as I previously mentioned, how to communicate with them as well. Our crowdfunder is an £800 goal, which will go towards the film too. This will include fundraising events as well. We have proposed to Lauren that any money left over from the film will go towards a charity of her own choice. After university, I have ambitions of either getting into teaching or research. I would also like to explore the opportunities of becoming a journalist, especially since I already have a degree in the field. This project will give me the opportunities to improve on these skills, to build my confidence as well as my communication. It is also an opportunity for me to step outside my professional comfort zone and to meet new collaborators, to build meaningful relationships with a potential new crew who I could use as contacts in the future. This project will also be used as a potential springboard for opportunities. Though I've just noted a lot of these things in detail in the previous slide, it is also worth noting that this will also allow me to build my professional confidence, to build upon all that I've learned in the last 3 years of university. I want to strive to be the best that I can be. I want to push myself to new limits I didn't know I had. This is also an opportunity for me to develop certain skills that, as I previously said, may be lacking. In regards to professional confidence though, this will allow me to use this documentary as something for my CV, as something to show future employers should I choose to work in the industry. Overall, this is a project that I'm incredibly excited about. I'm looking forward to sharing my passion in professional wrestling with you, to sharing my passion in documentary making as well. I'm looking forward to working with my crew in more detail. I've built very meaningful relationships with them as well. I'm looking forward to showing not only a professional wrestling documentary, but a story about triumph, a story about an underdog, a story about mental health as well, which will appeal to a wide variety of target audiences. Thank you very much for listening to my pitch. Hopefully my excitement has shown through, and I'm looking forward to you both joining me on my journey.